when your mind becomes equanimous. Equanimous means you have a mind which can be totally active in the world, but a mind which can remain undisturbed, regardless of the conditions that you're experiencing in the world. Whether what is happening is experienced as pleasant or unpleasant, still there remains a certain silence of the mind that is unbroken. So you find the more you can allow yourself to become anchored in this witnessing intelligence, is the more equanimity of the mind that becomes available. This equanimity of the mind is absolutely essential if we are to live effectively in the world. Because if there are problems that exist in the world, whether problems in human life, individual life, or problems in the society, you need, if you want to address these problems effectively, you need to be able to address these problems according to the reality, not according to your belief systems, not according to the prejudices that you're carrying. So how clearly you can perceive realities as they are is how well you can address the problems that exist in both individual life and in the society. Unfortunately, from what I see, especially in people in positions of power in the world, whether it's organized religion or politics or governments, we are addressing problems according to our past conditioning, our ideas of what is right or wrong, our systems of morality. And the reality of life is that life is so very unpredictable. Nobody has 100% certainty about which direction life is going to move. At any moment in our life, a right angle turn can happen. You don't know which direction things are going to move. In fact, one of the very few certainties in life is death of the body. Besides that, what else is 100% certain in your life? So because of this, you need to be highly flexible and adaptable. Not responding to situations according to rigid, predetermined structures, but an intelligence which is flexible, like water. You're just responding according to what the situation needs. You know, it's a bit like when you're communicating with different human beings. For one person, you try to speak to him very calmly, try to make sense, talk logic with him, but still the message doesn't go through. In some cases, a more forceful, direct attitude is more effective. So this is a bit like a principle of medicine. In medicine, when you go to the doctor doesn't just give a general prescription for every single condition. He understands very well that different types of medicine for different kinds of situation. That's exactly what the quality of wisdom is like. Applying different medicine for different kinds of situation. So that means you need to have an intelligence which is highly flexible and adaptable, but at the same time totally stable. It reminds me of one story of a Zen master named Hakuin. Hakuin lived near a marketplace. In the marketplace there was a very young girl who became pregnant. So her parents demanded, "Tell us who has done this to you." The young girl, being filled with panic, simply first thought that came to her mind was the Zen master. So she said, "Hakuin." So the parents, they took the girl, approached the master, and they said to the master, "Are you the one who has impregnated our daughter?" The master simply remained silent. Then they became even more suspicious. So then they left with the girl, and the girl gave birth to the child. They came back several months later. They said, "Okay, here, this child belongs to you. We don't want to take care of this child. You're the one who's responsible for the well-being of this child." Hakuin accepted the girl, again very calmly and silently. Then he said, "Is that so?" So several years he's taken care of this child. He doesn't have much money available to him. He does not have much resources available to him. But now he has this great responsibility of taking on the well-being of another child. So he manages. He gets supplies from friends in the marketplace, enough to fulfill her survival needs, offers her shelter. Several years later, there's a knock on the door of the temple, and there are the parents once again with the daughter. The parents have tears in their eyes, and they're holding a bouquet of flowers. And they tell the master, okay, now I know this is very surprising to you, but several years later, we finally discovered the truth. We know that this is not your child. This is the father of the child, is one boy who also works in the marketplace. Please accept our apologies. We want to take back the child. The master very silently, even though at this point rumors have been traveling around the whole village, damaging his reputation, he said, okay, here, take back the child. Then the parents said, we're so sorry, we know your reputation has been damaged. And the master very quietly said, is that so? And Hakuin was known for this general attitude towards life. In the midst of any kind of experience which would appear to be a tragedy, he would simply say, is that so? This reflects a very deeply contented and silent mind. Exactly the same kind of equanimity that I'm trying to indicate towards. A mind which can be totally grounded and stable, yet at the same time you have a certain wisdom which is flexible. So, in order for that kind of awareness to happen, we need to learn just to create a small distance in our experience between the witness within you and that which you are witnessing. Thoughts are happening within you. You don't attach the idea of I, me, or mine to these thoughts. You don't become identified. The moment you start to become identified, then you start creating a certain persona, a false entity of an ego. So just being rooted in that non-judgmental awareness. Thoughts are there, thoughts are simply happening. Emotions are simply happening. Perceptions are simply happening. So you don't start to take things personally. And in terms of what is psychological, then too it's absolutely true that, let's look into it. Most of the content of your mind is just information you have borrowed from the outside world, isn't it? You're assuming ownership, you're assuming copyright, trademark, but none of this content is yours, just information you have borrowed. And according to the type of society in which you're living, you will have a different kind of mind. So all this content that you have borrowed from the outside world, which you've molded and shaped your personality out of, most of it is completely impersonal. So this is why it's so essential to learn this quality of being a witness and not taking things personally. This gives you a certain wisdom where you can perceive things, not that you're not forming judgments about it. Obviously, when you're living in the world, you need to make judgments. Car is moving towards you, you need to make a judgment, should I move or should I not move? You have the electricity bill, of course you need to be mindful of the date of when to pay the bill. You need to put the judgments of the intellect to use in the world. We're not talking about eliminating these judgments. What we are talking about is being able to use these judgments, and at the same time you're not becoming enslaved to the whole process. That is the whole problem. While being active in the world, you are becoming enslaved to the process. So to me, this is the very definition of freedom. you're able to have a total experience of the body, a total experience of the mind, a total experience of the whole range of your humanity. But at the same time, nothing rules over you. You always remain the master within yourself. So that is only possible if there's just comes a small distance in your experience between the witness within you and that which is being witnessed, the knower and that which is known. Not that it's separate, not that you're repressing anything that's happening, but there's just a very clear awareness that this is not you. There's another intelligence within you which remains beyond all of this. So what is the nature of this intelligence? That is the whole thing that we are trying to explore through these methods. So, does anybody have any questions about? I would like you all to take this with a grain of salt, because the reality is that whatever does not have firm grounds in your own direct experience, it really does not have any relevance in your life. I see this is the huge problem that many people have in the world. We're carrying so many ideas, philosophies, and belief systems, yet there seems to be a huge gap of space between these ideas and our living reality. What's one of the most popular themes in human history is love. So many poems have been written about love. So many songs have been written about love. People have been dancing and cheering about love. Yet when you look at the history of humanity, it seems to be filled with most of it, mostly just war, violence, power struggles. These are just things which have not yet become a concrete reality in our life. So even if something is true, unless it is verified through your own experience, then it really has very little relevance in one's life. So deepening your experience in such a way that you're not knowledgeable, but you start to become wise. Wisdom and knowledge are two totally different things. Knowledge, just more information you're adding to your memory banks. You can read all the libraries of humanity and gather so much knowledge, but with very little wisdom, because wisdom is something that comes through direct experience. And the very quality of direct experience is that you're transformed by the experience. It's not just on the superficial level of the intellect. It penetrates to a much deeper level, beyond your intellect, into your heart, beyond your heart, to the deepest levels of your being. So, in a way, you become that. You're not following a teaching about love, you are love. You're not following a teaching about wisdom. Wisdom is inseparable from the very rhythm of your life. So it's much more of a way of being, and less of just being an intellectual process.